Fusion reactor is a device used to produce electrical power from energy released in nuclear fusion reaction. Fusion is basically a process in which two or more things are joined together to form a single entity. And nuclear fusion refers to joining of lighter atomic nuclei to form a heavier nucleus, and the mass difference between the fusing nuclei and the product nucleus is released as large amount of energy as per Einstein's mass energy relation. For nuclei to fuse together, some extreme conditions are required like high pressure and very high temperature. In the core of the sun and the stars, the source of energy are the fusion reactions. The physics of fusion reactor is an active and attractive area of research with many challenges. The key concept behind release of large amount of energy in fusion or fission is binding energy. The fusion reaction doesn't take place under normal conditions because the positively charged nuclei have to overcome the Coulomb barrier due to their positive charges. The fusion reaction will occur only when the nuclei are very close, up to a distance say nearly 10 to the power minus 15 meter, such that the strong interactions dominate at this range and the Coulombic repulsion is comparatively weaker because the Coulombic forces are long range forces. So the nuclei fusing together will have to overcome the repelling electrostatic forces, and this observation brings out the key problem of fusion. These nuclei must have very large initial energy to come closer and overcome this barrier. At very high temperatures, the fusing nuclei will exist in the form of plasma. Challenge of taming fusion is to maintain this plasma that is very hot and dense to have a useful rate of fusion. The fusion reactor is also called thermonuclear reactor because for the fusion process to occur, the fuel should be in the form of gas which is at very high temperature, and the fusing nuclei have sufficient kinetic energies to undergo fusion. The temperature inside the fusion reactor must be so high that all the electrons are knocked out of their atoms and the fuel exists purely in the form of ionized gas. This state of matter is called plasma state, also known as fourth state of matter. Different states of matter are depicted here in this diagram on a scale of temperature. At very low temperature, the Bose-Einstein condensate exists, then solid, then slightly higher temperatures correspond to liquid state of matter, then gaseous, and at the highest temperatures, plasma exists. For the fusion process to occur, temperature within the core of the reactor must be kept at a very high temperature, say of the order of 10 to the power 9 Kelvin. This temperature is much larger than the temperature at the core of the sun. In the core of the sun, the necessary conditions of high density and extreme pressures are achieved due to gravitational pull, extreme gravitational pull, but in case of practical fusion reactor, these conditions can be achieved with the help of such extreme temperatures only. Another challenge for functioning of a fusion reactor is to hold the plasma under such extreme conditions for a sufficiently longer time. The thermonuclear reaction in the reactor must be self-sustaining. There are many energy losses in the plasma through processes like radiation, conduction, or convection. These losses must be balanced for the reaction to produce energy in a useful way. Such losses must be minimized and the balance of energy must be achieved. This can be done only if the product of plasma density and its energy confinement time exceed a critical value. Now, the principle or basic concept of a fusion reactor. First, the mass gets converted into energy as per Einstein's mass energy relation. Fusing nuclei, the lighter nuclei, produce a product nucleus having its mass slightly lesser than the sum of masses of the reacting nuclei, and the surplus binding energy is released as kinetic energy of the produced particles. Carrying out the controlled exothermic thermonuclear fusion reaction under suitable conditions such that the reaction is self-sustaining. Now, once we know the conditions for the fusion process to occur, we need to understand which type of nuclei are to be selected or which processes are to be carried out such that this reactor can actually work in a useful way practically. As we know, more the stability of the product nucleus, more will be the surplus binding energy released in the reaction. And we all know that helium 4 is the most stable nucleus, or it has the greatest binding energy of any atom lighter than carbon 12. In addition to this, it is the most suitable candidate to be produced by fusing lighter nuclei and effectively utilizing energy from the fusion process. Fusing lighter nuclei has a significant advantage because lighter the fusing nuclei, lower is the electric charge on the nucleus, lesser will be the Coulombic repulsion, and more will be the likelihood that the fusion will occur. Because the barrier height for Coulombic repulsion, that will be comparatively lower in case of lighter fusion nuclei. So it becomes easier to set up the conditions for an experimental fusion reactor. Now, the nuclear fusion reactions between lightest isotopes of hydrogen, taking deuterium and tritium, these are found to be the best candidates for fuel in a fusion reactor. This is shown in equation number 1, 2 and 3, how the deuterium nuclei fuse together to give us tritium plus hydrogen 1. Then 2 deuterium nuclei can also fuse together to give us helium 3 plus 1 neutron, or these two are called DD processes, or DD, deuterium-deuterium reaction, and equation number 3 shows us the DT process. That means deuterium, tritium, they fuse together to give us helium 4 nucleus plus 1 neutron. We can also see the energies taken away by the products. For example, in equation 1, the energy approximately 4.04 MeV is there. In case of equation number 2, the energy is more than 3 MeV. And in case of equation 3, in the DT process, the energy balance on the right hand side is much larger. This can be attributed to the formation of helium 4 nucleus, which is highly stable, means it has very high binding energy that is released when this helium nucleus is formed, and this energy appears as kinetic energy of the product particles. Out of these three processes, the third process, DT process, has been found suitable for being used as a process in a practical fusion reactor. But due to some complications like availability of tritium in the long run and some unwanted chemical properties and higher energy neutrons produced by the DT reaction, other fusion fuel options may be preferred. These options may be deuterium-deuterium fusion reaction as well as some other fusion reactions not resulting in the production of neutrons, also called a neutronic fusion reaction. They are considered to be the best long-term options for fusion reactors. Any fusion reactor must produce energy in a useful way. That means it must be self-sustaining. The energy released in the fusion reaction must be more than the energy consumed for its processing. Now let's have a look at the conditions required for controlled exothermic nuclear fusion reaction. The first condition is extremely high temperatures are required within the reactor core so that the process can occur at an appreciable rate and it can be self-sustaining. The minimum temperature at which the fusion reaction becomes self-sustaining is known as critical ignition temperature. For DT reaction, the critical ignition temperature is nearly 50 million Kelvin, and for DD fusion reaction, the critical ignition temperature is 370 million Kelvin. There is another condition that is called Lawson criterion for the fusion reaction to be self-sustaining, and this condition is expressed in terms of minimum value of product of plasma density, say N, and the confinement time for the plasma, say T, for which the useful energy can be obtained. This product NT for DD reaction has been found to be nearly 2 into 10 to the power 22 particles second per meter cube, and for DT reaction it has been found to be of the order of 9 into 10 to the power 9 particles second per meter cube. Lower the value of this product NT, more favorable the process will be. So we can see from these two values for DD and DT reaction that DT is the favorable process. A very major challenge in fusion reactor science is achieving high temperatures for heating of plasma inside the reactor core. So how to achieve it is discussed in this part of the lecture. A number of methods have been tried so far to heat the plasma to temperatures of the order of 10 to the power 9 Kelvin. First, by passing very high current through the plasma. Second, by compressing the plasma by application of electrodynamic forces that arise due to passage of electric current through it. And the containment of plasma by magnetic field is called pinch effect. And third one is by irradiating the plasma with high energy beam of neutral atoms or electrons, high intensity laser radiations, or a very high frequency electromagnetic field. Apart from heating the plasma to achieve such high temperatures, there is one more challenge, that is confining this plasma for a sufficiently longer time so that the reaction can occur, it can produce energy in a useful way, means the process is finally self-sustaining. Now, how this plasma confinement can be achieved? There are again two methods. One is called magnetic confinement and the second one is inertial confinement. In magnetic confinement, low density plasma is confined with the help of high magnetic fields up to densities of the order of 10 to the power 21 particles per meter cube, and the confinement time must be at least 1 second. But in case of inertial confinement, the confinement time not more than it takes the plasma to disassemble, that is the time taken by the plasma to expand, and it is approximately 1 nanosecond. The plasma is confined by its own inertia and the particle densities achieved are of the order of 10 to the power 30 particles per meter cube. Inertially confined plasma is generally used in thermonuclear bombs. In an inertial confined power plant, the extreme density is achieved by compressing a millimeter scale solid pellet of fuel with lasers and particle beams, and this type of fusion is also called laser fusion or particle beam fusion. The magnetic confinement of plasma is most highly developed approach to controlled fusion. The key issue in this approach is attainment of magnetic field configurations which must meet three criteria. First, the plasma must be in a time independent equilibrium state. Second, the equilibrium must be macroscopically stable. And third one is the leakage of plasma energy to the bounding walls must be small. Here I have shown magnetic plasma confinement methods, that how in the absence of a magnetic field the plasma particles are moving randomly, but as soon as some magnetic field is applied they start moving along helical paths along the magnetic field lines. As shown in the diagram below, the direction of magnetic force on the particle depends upon its charge. So the direction of the motion of electron and that of positively charged nuclei will be opposite. So in the presence of magnetic field, the charged particles tend to spiral about a magnetic line of force. In this type of configuration, to maintain the equilibrium and to avoid any kind of losses, the plasma must not be in contact with the walls of the container or the confining region. Now, what are the different configurations of the magnetic field that can be used for confining the plasma? First one is pinched discharge or and the magnetic mirror method for magnetic confinement of the plasma. As shown in this diagram, large current is passed through the plasma and the plasma behaves similar to parallel current carrying wires. Due to this current, magnetic field lines will be set up as shown by red circles. These lines will encircle the plasma, and due to the magnetic force, under these conditions, the plasma will get pinched. So the possibility of energy losses in the mid region of the container or the core, they are minimized, but the energy losses occur at the ends of the tube or the cylinder containing the plasma. These losses can be reduced by using another magnetic field configuration called magnetic mirror. In this method, the passage of strong current through deuterium gas at low pressure heats up the gas and ionizes it. Thus, the plasma is produced. Then, the flow of current produces magnetic field lines, as shown here, that encircle the plasma, and the magnetic pressure compresses the plasma into a narrow region. This is also called pinch effect, and that's why it is called pinched discharge. This keeps the plasma away from the walls of the container. As I mentioned earlier, that to avoid the energy losses at the ends of the container, this magnetic mirroring method is used, and this is just to avoid the losses as well as for maintaining equilibrium in the fusing plasma. In this configuration, non-uniform magnetic field is used. At the center of the container, the magnetic field strength is comparatively lesser as it is at the endpoints. You can also see the magnetic field lines are far apart in the central region in comparison to the endpoints of the container. In this type of magnetic field configuration, as the particles move towards the ends of the container, the mirror force reduces the parallel velocity component to zero, and thus the particle bounces back to the middle of the device. Now, this parallel velocity component means you can consider the velocity vector having two components, one in a direction perpendicular to the axis of the container and one along the axis of the container. So the velocity vector, which is along the axis of the container, that gets minimized as the particles are moving towards the endpoints, and for most of the particles this almost reduces to zero, and thus the particle bounces back to the central region again. For more clarity, you can see with the help of red color, I have shown here how a particle starts moving from the center towards the left side of the container, but as it is moving towards the stronger magnetic fields, its velocity vector is reducing and it turns back towards the central region. Now it moves towards the right side, right end of the container, but again its velocity component, parallel velocity component, that reduces and finally it again comes back. Thus the particle, you can say, is trapped between the endpoints or the regions of strong magnetic field at the ends of the container. Or in other words, we can say the particle is reflected back from the endpoints, just like a mirror. So that's why this configuration is also called magnetic mirror method. Using this type of field configuration, the losses can be minimized appreciably. But again, there are some instabilities associated with this configuration, and the confinement time is not sufficient to build a working fusion reactor using this configuration. Now, the second magnetic confinement, that type of setup is called stellator. Here, a stellator, this word has been derived from stella in Latin, which is used for a star. In 1951, Spitzer described the principle of working of a stellator. In this type of configuration, the container is in the form of a tube, which is a ring-shaped tube, and the plasma is confined to carry out controlled fusion reaction in a similar manner as in case of stars. You can see in the diagram, the very strong current is passed through the windings of the coil around this tube, which is in the form of a ring, and the magnetic field lines produced so are parallel to the circumference of the ring. It's clear that the magnetic field near the inner perimeter is stronger than at the outer perimeter. Also, the locus of the charged particles of the plasma is shown with the help of green color. Due to non-uniform field strength within the tube, the plasma particles will experience a net outward pull, and thereby making the confinement of the plasma impossible, because that will lead to instability inside the reactor core. To overcome this difficulty of instability in a toroidal tube, that type of configuration, that closed ring configuration, is also called a toroidal tube. Spitzer suggested to twist the toroidal tube into a space which is like a figure of 8, and this is called the stellator tube. In this type of configuration, the tendency of the plasma to drift in a particular direction in one bend of the tube is compensated by the opposite tendency in the other bend of the stellator tube.